Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan, and today we're going to be reviewing more of your drafts. So last time I did this about a week ago, you absolutely loved it. You thought it was you really enjoyed the video. So I thought, let's do it again. Let's give a few more people an opportunity and we'll rate some more drafts. This time, instead of 10, I'm going to do 15 drafts. So, yeah, I'm going to have to whiz through them a little quicker, but yeah, we're going to try and squeeze in as many drafts as we can. We're going to do 15 today, so yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do enjoy this, please do leave a like. I'm sorry for anyone who I haven't included today. I've got 270 or something drafts sent to me, which is just ridiculous going through them all. But again, really nice to look through all of your teams and see how you're getting on. And some of you, I mean, a lot of you are on the ball. You're looking really good, guys, really strong. But I've chosen some slightly different non-template drafts just to give a different impression and sort of make sure that this is useful for everyone rather than just the people whose drafts I'm addressing them. I'm sure you will see some similarities in some of these teams to yours, and you'll find this really useful. Before we get going, if you haven't subscribed already, please do consider subscribing. The fantasy content is not going to stop all through the season. I'm going to be showing you my weekly teams. I'm going to be telling you the best captain picks every single week, and we're going to help you win your mini leagues all the way through the season. I got your back, guys. I got your back. But without further ado, let's look at the first team. So, first team has come in from James Craig. Now, the first thing I noticed about this team is the three cheap midfielders there in Harrison, Saka and Pereira, and that's really risky. So you've got three really low price midfielders. So Harrison, for a newly promoted team, he's going straight against Liverpool. Leeds don't have the best fixtures starting off. That's a real risk. Harrison isn't even a guy who gets a lot of contributions even in the Championship, so I'm not sure how he's going to do in the Premier League. Saka, he's got lots of competition for his place. I don't know if he's definitely going to start every game, so it's a little bit of a risk there. Pereira, I've spoken a little bit about Pereira before, in the sense that he's a great player. He did really well in the Championship, but he's surrounded by players of a slightly lower quality. West Brom don't have the strongest squad in terms of raw ability, so Pereira might be really good, but if he doesn't have players to feed off of and for him to feed, then there's no use him being really good. He can be as good as he likes if no one good is passing to him, and if he can't pass to anyone who is good, you know, you're going to get another Buendia. I think Buendia from last season, one of the best creative players in the whole league, but because he didn't have the quality around him, he couldn't fully flourish as an FPL asset. So that's my opinion on Pereira. So the simple solution to this is take the money out of your forwards. So take the money out of Werner or Kane, just downgrade one of them and reinvest that money into your midfield. And I think you pretty much sort it then. On the bench is looking pretty weak as well, so probably make sure you have at least one of those defensive those players on the bench a playing defender, so maybe a 4.5 million defender, and that will really improve your squad as well. Maybe go for a Lamptey or a White or a even like the new fullback at Newcastle, Lewis. So maybe someone like that. Plenty of options, but yeah. Let's move on to the next team, and it's from the FPL GOAT. The reason I'm not fully convinced by this is because two of the players on the pitch right now are, you know, they're not playing. They're literally not playing. And I don't know if you've set it up like this and not put these players on the bench to try and trick yourself into thinking that maybe there's a chance that Taylor and Greenwood might play, but Taylor and Greenwood aren't going to play, which means you're going to rely on Soucek and Douglas, who isn't going to play. And even if he does play, you know, he's against Liverpool. You've got Ziyech as well, who has now been confirmed to be out injured. He won't play the first game for Chelsea against Brighton. So that leaves you with two players missing from your Game Week 1 team. Now, usually I will say, okay, yeah, fair enough. If you can put some weak players on the pitch, at least you can get some points. But in this draft, there's literally two slots that are not going to have a single point attached to them. So you're only playing 9 out of 11 players, which is just so detrimental, and it gives you a really, really tough start, and you end up playing catch up with all of your league rivals. So not a good idea for me. So, you know, upgrade some of your bench options and put Taylor and Greenwood on the bench, or choose to not pick Greenwood and Taylor and instead bring them in using your transfers in later game weeks. If you need to downgrade some of your other players, downgrade maybe a Doherty, downgrade maybe your Son, your Ziyech, maybe downgrade your Jimenez. You need to free up some money, and you need to upgrade your bench or transfer out Taylor and Greenwood, and with the view of bringing them back in later. So that's my opinion on that one. So next up, we've got this team from Anders Workland Olstorn. Now, if that's not a Scandinavian name, I don't know what is. So yeah, Salah and Mane, which is interesting because I've not seen anyone really do this. I mean, I'm sure there's a few of you who are doing Salah and Mane, but it's kind of interesting. So Salah and Mane, really strong. Werner and Ings, really strong. Son there, strong. Alexander-Arnold is strong. The other guys are a little bit cheaper, but, you know, the problem is here that because there's so much money been spent on these premium players, the bench is super, super weak. Strike is not going to play. He's going to probably play, you know, sort of probably like 200 minutes throughout the entire season. So he's going to pick up a couple of one-pointers, so nothing there. Ferguson is injured, as we know, until probably Game Week 4, Game Week 5, maybe a little bit later, but probably around then. Davis, I mean, is he going to be playing at all? Probably not. Even if he does play, it's going to be sort of one-pointer here and there. So there's nothing on the bench here at all, which is a slight concern. And, you know, the reason why this has happened is because so much money has been spent on premium and the rest of the team has been neglected a little bit there. So, yeah, maybe take a little bit of money out of these premium players and make sure you've got something on the bench there just to help improve. And I think that could really be useful to you. So this one is from MJK. So he's got Calvert-Lewin, Ings and Werner up top. I think this is slightly too expensive up front, and also they're not very good price points up front. So say Calvert-Lewin or Ings doesn't perform well, who do you transfer them for? You have to transfer them down, both of them. You have to transfer them down all the way to sort of like 6.5 million players, 6 million players, and then you're left with all this money in the bank wasting away, which at the beginning of the season, you know, you need to squeeze as much out of the little money that you start with as you possibly can. In midfield, we've got Stevens, who is being forced to play, the cheap 4.5 million midfielder, who isn't even guaranteed a start at the moment since Basuma's doing really well in defensive midfield. So the problem is that too much money in all of your forwards, and you get stuck. You will get stuck with all of your money in the forwards, and you're forced to play Stevens for that 1 week. I know I'm guessing Greenwood is coming in for the second week, but I think I would prefer to see one of your bench options to be a sort of 4.5 million defender / you know, 5.5 million midfielder, just so you do have an option, so you're not forced to play Stevens in the first week. But other than that, it's a pretty good team. But I think you could just do just a little bit of balancing. So next up, it's Evan Hendo. So this team is pretty big at the back, to be honest. The obvious downside to this team is the fact that it's got triple Brighton defence. Now, I understand, obviously, Kevin De Bruyne is there, and he said in the comment as well that he's going to swap Ben White for Kevin De Bruyne in Game Week 2. But even so, why have triple Brighton defence against Chelsea? If you're only going to play Ben White for one game and then you're going to put him on the bench, why don't you play a player there instead who's maybe playing a slightly easier team than Chelsea? Because Lamptey, Ryan and White, the triple Brighton defence, you can't really imagine getting too many points out of that at all. And sort of even long term, Brighton aren't a particularly defensive team. Justin's a slight worry longer term, I guess. And, you know, you look at this team and you think, well, where is all the money? This doesn't seem like a full team. And that's sort of what happens when you start with someone like De Bruyne on the bench. I've spoken a lot before about how I don't like the idea of benching a De Bruyne. I'd rather just wait and transfer De Bruyne in later. His fixtures don't look amazing anyway. And look how much money is being taken out of the starting 11. And you've sort of been left with half a team. And even that half a team, you've got Brighton players in there. But, you know, Mane is interesting. I mean, I could speak a little bit. A couple of people have had Mane in these teams now. If you're choosing between Mane and Salah, because they're the same price, I would simply just go for Salah. Over the season, you'd say Salah gets slightly more points than Mane. He's got the penalties and the set pieces as well, Salah has. So that gives him like a slight edge. And when two players are the same price, you look for the player who you think will score more points. Last season, Salah was slightly more expensive than Mane, so there was a discussion to be had. But now Mane and Salah are the same price. We expect, objectively, Salah to get more points across the season. It makes sense to just have Salah. But yeah, not convinced by this. Not convinced by all the money on the bench and sort of the triple Brighton. It's a bit concerning. I'm not going to lie. So next, VanDer Allen, and he's planning an early wild card. And I thought I'd show a team that is planning an early wild card, just so we can sort of see what a team might look like if you're only planning for the very, very short term. So Double Arsenal defence, which is actually not bad. So Arsenal against Fulham. Fulham actually have one of the lowest expected goals for, predicted goals for this first game. Arsenal are one of the teams most likely to keep a clean sheet statistically going into this game week 1. So I don't think there's too much of a problem there. Again, Crystal Palace don't really threaten too much going forward either. So McCarthy and Walker-Peters could be a nice double up there. Aubameyang captain, love it. Perez is kind of interesting. I don't know if I fully trust Perez, if I'm honest, even though he has got an easy fixture. And then Werner, Vardy, Ings. I would only recommend going triple up on these really expensive forwards like this team if you are doing an early wildcard, because you don't want to be stuck with all your money up front, as I've sort of alluded to before. But generally speaking, if you're wildcarding early, this is a really good team. But if you don't want to wildcard early and you want to plan for the possibility that you won't wildcard for a good 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, then this is not a team you want to be going for. But short term, yeah, it could be really quite nice. Next up, FPL discussion, and we will be having a discussion about this FPL team. So it's kind of interesting in the sense that it's got Bruno Fernandes on the bench, and this is the reason I wanted to highlight this team. Even though it's got Bruno Fernandes on the bench, it still manages to put together a fairly reasonable, fairly decent team. So whereas a lot of people absolutely, they have their team with Bruno Fernandes or KDB on the bench, and their starting 11 just looks terrible. And it's sort of like, where is all the money? Oh yeah, it's on your bench. But with this team, you can actually kind of imagine that game week 1, this team actually scores relatively well. And it's sort of done that by using a 4-4-2 formation. So a 4-4-2 formation is a much cheaper formation to build a strong team around. And also Armstrong and Alan Saint-Maximin, really nice cheap midfielders there as well, which will hopefully pay off. Both got good fixtures, could be okay. And then you've got a sort of punt on Adams. You've got some solid players like Alexander-Arnold, Dyer, Egan, players that we trust in defence. Walker-Peters, who looks to be good. So yeah, this is a really good example of, if you are really desperate to have Bruno Fernandes or KDB or whoever else on your bench, this is a really good example of a team where it actually kind of makes it work, where it's not too bad. So well done, mate. That's actually really nice, and I hope me sharing your team helps a few people, I guess. So this next team is from Richard Bain, and he's described this team as the Power 5 up top. It's a pretty crazy team. So you've got Salah, Aubameyang, Vardy, Kane and Werner in those front 5 positions. I could never build a team like this for myself. I could never build a team. First of all, it's got no Liverpool defence whatsoever, no Trent Alexander-Arnold, which is worrying. If Liverpool keep a clean sheet, and they pretty much will every other game, then you've just lost points on 50%, 60%, 70% of the whole population of FPL. Maybe even 80%. Literally, so many people own at least one Liverpool defender that this is troublesome. The Power 5, if you like, is worryingly focused on forwards, when always, to be fair, it's actually the midfielders that always get you more points. So you should really be investing more of your money on the premium midfielders rather than the premium forwards, and that's why I'm not fully convinced by this. Salah's great, Aubameyang's great. Vardy, Kane and Werner, each individually are great, particularly at the beginning of the season, but you wouldn't want all three. In fact, you wouldn't even want two. You'd want one of them. You maybe have another semi-premium midfielder, and then sort of a mid-range midfielder as well. And switch to a 4-2-2 at least, 5 at the back. With, there's so many points you're missing out on by not capitalising on all the fantastic midfield options that are at our disposal. So let's move on anyway to FPL Discussion. So this is kind of a team I wanted to show you because it's just weird. The money in this team is spread out far too much for my liking. I mean, even if you consider, okay, we're going to expect that De Bruyne is going to be starting most matches for this team. Tarkowski and Greenwood will probably start off most games. Who's going to the bench? I guess maybe Justin, maybe Saiss, maybe Mitrovic. But even Justin, Saiss and Mitrovic, if those 3 guys drop to the bench, for example, I don't know exactly how this guy's going to line up in Game Week 2, but those are all players that would start in most people's teams. So you've got all of this money stuck on your bench. So if you want to make transfers later, you want to upgrade one of your players, you're going to have to downgrade one of your bench players later on, which is not something you want to be wasting your transfers on, changing players on your bench. So it's better off to start off with at least 1 or 2 super budget players on your bench, just so your money isn't wasted on your bench, and it's easier to move money around from your within your starting 11 than to take it back off of your bench players. So yeah, the money is far too spread. Obviously, I don't like the idea of spending this little on your main team just so you can have De Bruyne, Greenwood, Tarkowski waiting for game week 2. It does seem a little bit wasteful. I mean, there's no premium forward in here. There's only one premium midfielder, I guess, unless you count Son. So Salah's missed out. Obviously, Robertson has had to come in instead of Alexander-Arnold because all of these corners have had to be cut and sacrifices had to be made because so much money is spent on the bench. No matter how you arrange this team, there will always be money on the bench, and that's a bad thing. So let's move on to BT Max or VED. This team is super worrying because it has so much reliance on rock bottom players. It's got Burr, Mitchell as rock bottom players. It's got Brewster as rock bottom player. Alzate as rock bottom player. So when I say rock bottom player, I mean a player that is literally the minimum price possible for that position. You should never have 4 of those in your team. You should, well, I mean, excluding the goalkeeper, of course. 4 outfield players at rock bottom price is never a good idea. You only really want to have 2, I guess. Maybe 1, and then maybe one above the bottom tier price. So yeah, this is not reliable. Burr, I don't think he's going to play. I think Adama Traore is going to play there for game week 1. Mitchell, Van Aanholt is fit again now. He's back in training, right? So Mitchell might not even get this game that everyone is saying, oh, he's going to get to play in game week 1. So these guys are probably not even going to play. So you're stuck with an incomplete team, and you never want to start off the season with an incomplete team because then you sort of got to backpedal and try and make up for that later. And yeah, that's a little bit worrying. This team I don't really have many comments about. I just sort of picked it because it made me laugh how wide the midfielders look on this screenshot. I don't know what Armstrong and Salah are doing. Are they the ball boys in this game? Are they the linesmen? Maybe they're the linesmen in this team. And actually, it's a 9-man team with 2 linesmen. So yeah, I just made me laugh. I thought I'd share it with you guys. Next up is Dave Tilstone. Again, this is got the reliance on Mitchell, the 4 million defender. I'm not super keen about. He's got a double up of Havertz and Werner. I don't think you need both. Just choose one or the other. You don't want to be going too hard. It's a little bit risky. Bamford, 5.5 million striker. Is he going to do well? Well, certainly not against Liverpool. So perhaps you want something else as an option there. So this team is not bad, but it's just there's a few corners that have been cut here, and I think while you should cut corners, but you need to do it in a clever way, and I think this is a bit haphazard. And yeah, especially as there's no sort of Salah or Mane. And the other problem is that you might have noticed that, I mean, you can do a quick calculation in your heads if you like, but this team is worth 95 million, and he's got 5 million in the bank. And that seems super strange, doesn't it? But reading the caption here, Dave has said Armstrong for Fernandes is his game week 1 transfer. Armstrong to Fernandes. So you've got 5 million in the bank, and you want to upgrade Armstrong up to Fernandes. So basically, the situation is in the Armstrong slot, this team can choose any player for a 1-week punt under the price of 10.5 million, and it's gone for Armstrong. Why would you go for Armstrong? You could have any player in there as a 1-week punt up to 10.5 million, and you've gone from Armstrong. Why not go for like Christian Pulisic? He's fit now. Even if you want to go for Harvey Barnes, you can go for Maddison, you can go for so many players. You can go for all the 6 million and 6.5 million midfielders, and you've gone for a cheap 5.5 million midfielder. It doesn't really fully make sense. Even go for a James Ward-Prowse at 6 million. You've got the pick of the bunch here to do anything you like with 10.5 million for 1 week only, and you've gone for Armstrong. And yeah, that's the wackiest thing about this team. But yeah, other than that, it's not completely bad really. There's a few slight haphazard choices, but I think this team scores well if you just upgrade Armstrong to any other 1 week punt. You know, have some fun with it. The sky's your limit. You don't need to go for him. So the next swap is from Silky Saliba. And this one is going for a bench boost in game week 1. And I've seen a few people sort of suggest this tactic. I'm not a big fan, personally. I think the bench boost needs to be saved for the double game weeks down the line. But this team has gone for it now. But, you know, fine. And then they're going to, I'm assuming, wild card in game week 2. So, yeah, I mean, you can see that this team would get a few points. Podence is a little bit risky, I guess. Martinez is quite simply not going to play against Fulham there, so that's not going to work at all. You may as well just go for pretty much any other 4.5 goalkeeper, to be honest, because Martinez isn't going to play. But yeah, I guess this is an idea of what you could do if you're going to go for a bench boost and then wild card game week 2. But you know, it's not the tactic for me. It seems a little bit like impatient, if you like. Just wait and see how the season progresses. Find out who the best players are. Wait for the double game weeks. Use your wild card in conjunction with your bench boost, and you can do something really nice. Don't rush it. Don't be impatient. And we'll do one more team from Callum, Shepsy. And yeah, this is my favourite team of the lot. It's my favourite team of the lot. The concerns are, I mean, there are a few concerns. There's concerns in every team. The concerns are Souček as a player who's going to have to start every week. Is a starting player. Souček really should be your first bench option most of the time, or even if you're playing him this week, you should have your first bench option as a player who would go on to replace him. Ampadu, is Ampadu going to get any game time? Where does he slot in the Sheffield United defence? They've got a pretty rigid defensive setup that's not, they don't really chop and change it at all. Is Ampadu going to be playing in midfield? Maybe a game here and there, but 4.5 million, you know, go for someone else. Go for a Newcastle defender at 4.5. Go for even a Fulham defender at 4.5. There's so many options of 4.5 defenders. Why go for a player who's going to sometimes play, sometimes not play? You have no idea how he's going to fit in. Don't take the risk. Brewster, he could be good. Mitchell, I don't think he's going to play full stop. Wilson is a nice little pick, very interesting one. Ali, Mount is interesting. So there's a few nice, I guess, not full differentials, but slightly different picks in here. Generally, it's a really good team, but there are a couple of things I would change. But they have. I like it in particular. You know, Doherty and Alexander-Arnold. So the two premium defenders could work really nice at the beginning of the season. I'm not doing that strategy personally, but I think it could work really well. But there you go. So those are all of the teams I'm showing to you today. All 15. Wow, that was a lot of teams, wasn't it? I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you can take some sort of advice from this video. Hopefully you saw your teams in some of these teams and helped you think a little bit about your teams. And because we're getting so close. We're getting so close to the deadline. So yeah, exciting times ahead. So please do give this a like if you did enjoy it. Please do subscribe if you want to stick around for more. If you want me to help you throughout the season, I'm going to be going non-stop throughout the 2020-21 season. As I say, I'm your best mate for this season. We can do it. We're all going to win our mini leagues together, everyone here on this channel. So that's going to be awesome. Please, if you want to check out my Twitter, Instagram, join my mini league or support me on Patreon, please check out all of the links in the description. There's loads of stuff in there for you to get involved in. Please have a little look. And aside from that, plenty more videos to come before the deadline. I'm absolutely going for it. I mean, loving it. It's exciting times for FPL. It really is. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And I really hope to see you on the next one. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.